Now, most coaches I see online and speak to believe that sales calls are 100% non-negotiable. You have to do sales calls, or at least discovery calls, to speak to people before you sell mid to high ticket offers. Now, before, when I was selling lower ticket courses and so on, when courses were selling well, I could sell them without a sales call and automate the process, and that was fantastic. But as I did more coaching, and I started in the last couple of years to do a lot more coaching, and I've done multiple six figures in coaching over the years, and it's something that has done very well for me. But generally, there's always been a getting to know you call or sales call of some kind in between. And this is something that really started to annoy me. About 6 months ago, I started to get tired of doing sales calls all of the time, especially with all of the one-on-one coaching I was doing as well. So I wanted to know if there was a different way, because especially living in Thailand with the time zone, it means that I'm doing sales calls early in the morning and I'm doing them in the evening, and sometimes people don't even show up. And it obviously, even if you've got a 50% close rate, it means that a lot of that time is just dead time that's not really going to help you. It's not really going to turn into money at all. And when your time is massively limited, like it is for me, then that's a real problem. So what I wanted to know was, can I sell mid to high ticket without sales calls? Now, obviously, I've seen it in the past with lots of fancy automations and amazing webinars, but it's generally the sort of realm of people that are very, very good at marketing. And most of us are good, but not necessarily great. So to automate that process is quite difficult. But I wanted to see with the community model whether it was possible for me to be able to automate this, to maybe make sales calls optional, so they weren't the default. So that was my mission. So 6 months ago, I started to test this, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video, because it did actually work. I was actually able to make sales calls optional. They were no longer the default, and actually my programs still sold. So I'm going to break down what worked in this video and potentially what you can take away to do the same for yourself as well. So the first thing I did was about 6 months ago, I basically made the switch to group coaching, to more of a group coaching model. I started to launch my beta program. I started to work with people in larger numbers, and I started to create something that was more evergreen, because the initial thing I wanted to get rid of more was obviously the one-to-one coaching. This is what I wanted to move away from. And going to group obviously automatically means that I'm doing fewer one-to-one calls. It didn't fix the sales call problem, but it did immediately mean that I was doing less one-on-one. So I started to offer less one-on-one, started to dial that back, and started to create my group program moving forward. So that fixed the one-to-one problem. And then I wanted to run the test. So a few months ago, after Christmas, I started to test if I was able to start promoting offers and selling offers with just emails, DMs, and posts. So just using what I basically had within the Skool platform, within the community, and potentially additional email features as well off the platform as well. So basically everything apart from sales calls. Could I push and promote with the Skool community model and all of the different touch points that we have, which makes Skool and communities so good, because we can really have conversations with people in many different ways without actually having to jump on a sales call. And you can even do group calls within your community as well, if that's something you want to do. And that's obviously a great way to sort of do one-to-many rather than one-to-one. And what I noticed was, and it's worth noting that I've only done this twice now, we're talking small numbers here, but the data is very reflective. It really does show that this is working. It's just a matter of pushing even more people through the system once you've got it set up. So what I noticed was that it did actually sell. The Skool offers that I was promoting pretty much sold at the same level. And I was just doing the odd sales call, the odd discovery call, when I really felt it was necessary, or someone just had more questions and it just made sense. But when I did those calls, everybody showed up because it was more impromptu, it was more conversations that happened before, and it wasn't just having your link everywhere with anybody being able to book a call, even through an application process and so on. It just wasn't required because it was more personal and more direct by that point. So it wasn't the default, as I said. And the interesting thing was it did sell. So this was great. The evidence looked fantastic. From 2 small promotional runs, it was looking really, really good. So I wanted to look at the data and I wanted to understand, okay, what's the difference? What's happening in the background? Is it just the community model? Is it the traffic? Is it the system that I'm running? And I think it's a combination of all of them. And if you would like to know more about the system that we run inside our community and recommend, I'll link to our free group in the video description, where I go into this in more detail and we can break down the exact sort of strategy that we use, and the flywheel strategy between your content and your community as well. But the data was very interesting, because it definitely showed that more touch points were great and very reflective. But what I noticed was that 99% of all the sales that came in via this strategy were actually coming from YouTube. So we've obviously got more data with the Skool platform now, but I was also asking people who signed up, and most of them would say the same thing. I binge watched your content, I came through to your community, and then after a little bit of time in there, normally within a 2-month window, a 6-week to 2-month window, when people have got momentum is the time they tend to buy the most. Don't get me wrong, some people buy years later, but I noticed that if people want to work with you, they've made that decision quite quickly, or at least from the YouTube traffic. Maybe some people, when you're not doing that, require more nurturing. But 99% of all my sales were coming via YouTube. And I think this is definitely because it's trusted traffic. It's trust building traffic where they get to know, like, and trust you. They watch a load of your content. They've already pre-sold themselves on you and working with you potentially. They just want to see what's going on inside the community. So this was fascinating because I actually had quite a lot of traffic coming directly from the Skool platform and also direct from websites and other links. And although these people seemed good, they just did not really turn into sales very quickly. Now, again, that's not to say that some of them won't in future, and the odd one has, but it is just the majority is coming directly from YouTube. And what I'm seeing is the better members and the people that are more pre-qualified and actually want to work with you, they all seem to come from YouTube, and more engagement, the ones that reply to DMs, the ones that speak to you more, the ones that are warmer, literally warmer because they feel like they know you, they all come from YouTube. So the point of this is that trust is massive. Trusted traffic is really where it's at. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't convert people from cold traffic, but it does mean that you have to basically do the warming elsewhere. So that would mean that if they came into your Skool and they basically then you wanted to then get them to buy, then we're going to have to do a lot more nurturing inside. What YouTube did, we have to do here. And that means you have to spend time inside the community nurturing people and warming them and getting them to know, like, and trust you before they potentially buy. And that's absolutely possible, but you're going to have to do that warming in the community. You're going to have to be really active. And if they don't know you, or if they just came for the free thing, you know how it is. They might just go dead. They might stop responding. They might just be a lurker. They'll come for the free thing and then completely ignore you. So it's easier if they've been pre-warmed off, because you have a choice. You either basically pre-warm them off and then they come into your Skool, or you get them coming in so warm, and then they're ready and you can move them through faster, or you do that warming inside the Skool and then you try to go for the sale after. But the benefit of having YouTube content is that it's also bringing you traffic. So if I paid money to get people into this Skool system and then I'm trying to warm them inside, well, what have I saved? I've got the attention, so okay, great, I only have to focus on the Skool part, that's fine. But the benefit of YouTube or trusted content, so there are other sources, but I found YouTube to be the best, especially long-form content. This brings in the attention, brings in the free views for you, and it does the nurturing process for you before you even have to speak to them. So therefore, the finished part of what happens here when they arrive is just much easier. So it's two birds with one stone for me with this strategy. So trusted traffic is really where it's at. And because of that, I didn't really need sales calls. And that's the difference. It's trust, and then it's a conversation that is finished afterwards. So this was really mind-blowing for me. And really, I found it very, very interesting. And it is basically what makes this system better. So the community system is great in terms of nurturing general other forms of traffic. But if you want to be able to do it without sales calls, then I think the traffic source really, really does matter. And that's what I basically realized. So I would really partner up your Skool community with YouTube traffic if you can, if you're willing to get on camera. Even low amounts of views, the quality of them converts much higher. I've actually found that it dramatically converts in terms of sales much, much higher. As I said, the majority of the sales are coming from YouTube. So I hope you found that interesting. As always, if you'd like to join our free community to get more on this and how we actually do this inside our own group, then I will link to our free community in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.